Hello bookworms, it's Jade from Bedtime Bookworm and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here to bring you a book haul. I don't do book hauls very often on my channel. Way back at the beginning of my channel, I actually made a video all about why I don't buy a lot of books. Since then, my buying habits definitely have changed, although for the most part, I still strive to only buy books that I've already read and loved. But my book haul today definitely does not fit with that philosophy. A while ago, one of my booktube friends, Katie from Girl About Library, messaged me and asked me if I was interested in going to the Waco Friends of the Library book sale, which is like this huge annual book sale. It starts on Thursday and goes all the way till Sunday. Katie and I have hung out before when we went to the North Texas Teen Book Festival in April, and ever since then we've been looking for an event or something that we could both go to. So we decided to meet in Waco to go to this book sale together. So going to the book sale, I had in mind that I wasn't going to buy very many books because I knew this was the fourth day of the book sale. I figured there wouldn't be a whole lot left that I was interested in, especially if I was looking at it from the point of view of trying to only buy books that I've already read and loved. But that totally went out the window when I actually got to the book sale. Because it was the last day of the sale, it was basically $10 per bag of books. So it was the same price for a bag of books, no matter how full the bag was, which definitely enticed me to buy a lot more books than I thought I was going to get. One thing that I also struggled with when trying to pick out books was that I am very much someone who wants to have books that are in good condition and that look nice. And I'm glad that there are other readers out there who aren't like that, because I truly think that all books deserve a home, and I hate that I personally can be so picky about them. Because this is a library book sale, a lot of these books were not in great condition, and a lot of them were like mass market paperback editions that I try not to buy. I don't like reading out of mass market paperbacks, and so I don't usually buy them. But let me tell you, I ended up buying some during this sale. I convinced myself to end up buying 2 full bags of books. These are all books that I have not read before, but they're all either books that were already on my TBR or authors that were on my TBR that I wanted to try. And they're not all in great condition, but what I told myself was that these books were so cheap that I was basically borrowing them from the library and paying $1 in late fees per book. Like, I just have such a hard time passing up a good deal. And when you think about the amount of entertainment you get out of a book per dollar that you spend on it, when you get a cheap book, you're getting hours and hours of entertainment for not that much money. I ended up with 25 books and I spent just a little over $25. I think it was like 26 or something, because there were a few books that I bought that weren't in the $10 per bag area of the book sale. But anyways, I ended up spending roughly $1 a book, which is super cheap. Okay, let's get into the books. I'm going to be pulling out the books and just telling you why I was interested in getting them, and we're going to try to go through them very quickly because, like I said, there's 25 books to talk about. Okay, sorry if that shifted a little bit because when I was pulling out the books, I, of course, hit my tripod. These are going to be in no particular order except that I'm trying to group authors together because there are some authors that I bought multiple books from. So the first author that I was really excited about is I bought a bunch of Karen Slaughter books. I've read one Karen Slaughter called Pieces of Her. It's her newest release. I gave it 4 stars, but I was a little disappointed because I had heard so many good things about Karen Slaughter and it just didn't quite live up to the hype for me. But from what I've seen from other people's reviews of that book, it might not be her best work. So one Karen Slaughter that I've heard a lot about that I think I might read next, or I might see the order, the publication order of these and read them in publication order, because I've got 5 Karen Slaughter books that I was able to pick up. But the one that I'm most excited about is Pretty Girls. This is just the one that I've heard the most about and that I've heard good things about, so I really think I'm gonna like this. Funny story, my husband saw this, and so there's a sticker here over the author's first name, and it just says Slaughter Pretty Girls, and he thought that the name of the book was Slaughter Pretty Girls, which I thought was really funny. I also have Broken by her, which this is one that I have not heard anything about. I actually don't think I've heard of any of the rest of these. I also have Fallen by Karen Slaughter and Beyond Reach by Karen Slaughter. And this one's a hardcover. Those were all mass market paperback, but this one is called Unseen. I mean, all of these say New York Times bestselling author on them, so they're all books that came out after she was already a best-selling author, so I'm hopeful that I'm gonna like them. Karen Slaughter definitely has a huge backlist that I hadn't realized. Sticking with thrillers for now, I also got this one that I'm really excited about. It's a book that was already on my TBR, and that is The Ruins by Scott Smith. It's blurbed by Stephen King. It says the best horror novel of the new century. This is one that I've heard a lot about. I've heard it's really scary, and I definitely need a good scare. So the next one that I'm going to talk about is by an author that I am interested in trying, but I haven't actually heard of this book by this author, and that is The Trespasser by Tana French. She's like a mystery thriller author that I've heard a lot about, but I have yet to read anything by her, so I picked this one up. And this one actually is in pretty good condition and is the type of paperback that I like. The next book that I picked up was The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins. This is a book that's on my one-day TBR. I have seen the movie, which has made me less interested or less excited to pick up the book, but figured for basically 99 cents, I might as well get it and maybe I'll read it. Another book that I picked up is Whiteout by Ken Follett. So I've heard of Ken Follett as a historical fiction author. There's a particular series that I've heard a lot about, but I think he's got at least 2 series that are historical fiction. This book, however, seems like a post-apocalyptic something or other because it's about a virus. To be honest, I did look this up on Goodreads and it didn't have the greatest of reviews, but the synopsis was interesting enough, and I love reading about virus apocalyptic sort of things, especially considering that I'm trying to write a zombie book for NaNoWriMo, so I was really interested and went ahead and decided to get this one. So another book that I picked up by an author that I'm interested in trying was A God in Ruins by Kate Atkinson. It says down here by the author of Life After Life, which is actually the book that I have heard of, but I haven't heard of this one. In full disclosure, Katie actually picked up a copy of this for herself, and I couldn't help but pick one up for myself because there were 4 copies of them, so I did. I also got The Memory Keeper's Daughter by Kim Edwards. This is a book that I've been meaning to read for years, but this is a book that I heard a lot about when I was in grad school because I went to grad school for a genetic counseling degree. It's about a doctor who has a child with Down syndrome, and the nurse that helps deliver the baby ends up taking the baby with Down syndrome for herself. And so in the genetics community, this is a book that has been talked about, and I was interested in reading years ago but never did, and now I have a copy of it, so I maybe should read it. Definitely picked up a lot of adult books compared to what I usually read, but there just wasn't a great selection of YA books, but I did get some, but they're going to be at the end. So next I got The Woman in the Castle by Jessica Shattuck. This is a book that I've heard about and was vaguely interested in reading. It's a historical fiction that's set just after World War II, and I love books set in that time period, so I'm excited to read this. Another historical fiction I picked up was The House at Riverton by Kate Morton. I've heard a lot about Kate Morton as a historical fiction author, and I have been wanting to try her out, although I haven't heard anything specific about this book, but they had it, and I added it to my paper bag. So next I have Burial Rites by Hannah Kent. This has been on my TBR for a couple years. When I first got on BookTube 2 to 3 years ago, a lot of people were talking about this, and a lot of people liked it. It's about the last person in Iceland who was beheaded. So you know before going into it that she's going to die at the end, and it's kind of about the trial and how she got there, but I think that she ends up spending a bunch of time on a farm. They didn't put her in jail or prison before her execution. She was sent away somewhere else. It sounds really interesting. There's a blurb on it from Karen Slaughter, which makes me excited. Next, I have The Kite Runner by Khaled Hosseini. This is a book that was really popular when it came out. I got a San Francisco Chronicles Best Book of the Year award. They made a movie out of it. I don't think that I've seen the movie, but this is just one that I'd heard about a lot, and when I saw it for basically 99 cents, I decided to pick it up. I feel like a lot of these books that I bought are books that I feel like the ideal Jade would read. I don't know how well it really lines up with my realistic reading habits, because I definitely read a lot more sci-fi fantasy, but these are books that I theoretically want to read. Next, I have a David Mitchell book. This is The Thousand Autumns of Jacob de Zoet. I know absolutely nothing about this, but David Mitchell wrote Cloud Atlas, which I read a third of and DNF'd a long time ago. Not DNF'd consciously, but I just stopped reading it. But Cloud Atlas is literally my favorite movie of all time. And so even though I didn't get very far into the Cloud Atlas book, I still want to try more of David Mitchell's writing. So when I saw this, I decided to grab it, even though I have no idea what it's about. It does look like from the front, this is some sort of maybe Asian setting. There's like some Japanese or Chinese writing. I think it's like old school Chinese writing up there. So maybe it's something Asian related. Takes place in 1799 in Japan. Interesting. Next, I have A Million Little Pieces by James Frey. I have heard a lot about this book, even though I don't actually know what it's about. But I remember hearing, I think Katie was telling me that this was supposed to be like a memoir, and this guy got really famous, James Frey, for writing this memoir, but then later it came out that a lot of this was fabricated and not real. I haven't done any research on it, so I could be wrong about that, but that's kind of what I remember hearing. But I remember hearing this title a lot. Next, I picked up The Silver Star by Jeanette Walls. So Jeanette Walls is the author of The Glass Castle, which was also recently made into a movie, and that is actually a memoir, but this seems to be more fiction. I'm actually reading The Glass Castle like right now. Katie and I are buddy reading it, but when I saw this, I got excited because I thought maybe if I liked The Glass Castle, I might try some of her fiction. So I picked this one up. Next, I got 3 books by Amy Tan. So I've read one Amy Tan, and it was years ago, like when I was in the 6th grade. So probably over 20 years ago at this point. How old are you in the 6th grade? And that book was Joy Luck Club, and I loved it. It was one of the first times it was the first time that I had ever read a book from the point of view of a mixed Asian child. And I just remember really connecting with that book and feeling represented in a book for the first time. But I haven't read any Amy Tan since then. One of the ones that I got is The Kitchen God's Wife, which I've definitely heard of this one, but I don't know what it's about. I don't know what any of these are about. I also got The Bone Setter's Daughter, which is another title of hers that I've heard of. And then this next one is one of hers that I haven't actually heard of, and it's called Saving Fish from Drowning. But yeah, I'm excited to delve into more Amy Tan because I remember really loving Joy Luck Club. Granted, that was years and years ago. And then the last adult book, which I actually don't know if this is really adult. It might be YA. No, I don't think this is YA. I think this is adult. Anyways, enough with the suspense. There's really not much to look at because it's a naked hardback. But this is, I don't know if you can maybe see it this way, The Storied Life of A.J. Fickery. This is on my soon-to-read TBR because I pulled this out of my TBR jar within the past few months. I didn't realize how short it was though, which is kind of exciting. I should get on this, although it does have deckled pages and your girl does not like deckled pages. But yeah, I'm excited to officially own this and then I can read it whenever I want. And now I think we're on to YA books. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 YA books to talk to you about. The one that you guys would probably be the most excited about was there was a copy of Down Among the Sticks and Bones by Seanan McGuire, which is a novella. Fortunately, it's not the first one. Is it the second one? But I've been meaning to read these. So many people love them. And yeah, now I own a copy of the second one, so when I get around to it, I can read it whenever I want. Actually, a lot of these that I got that are YA are books in a series that aren't the first book in a series. Next, we'll talk about Railsea by China Melville. I actually don't think that's how you say it. Melville? I should have looked that up. Anyways, this is like a post-apocalyptic YA book. And I love me YA post-apocalyptic fiction. It doesn't say anything in here about being a second book in a series or anything, so that's good. I think it's actually a standalone, which would be awesome, because I love standalones. I'm reading way too many series. But I picked this up not only because it's a YA post-apocalyptic fiction, but because the author, China Melville, is someone that I've heard a lot about, but I think I've heard of her more for writing adult books, and I didn't realize that she had any YA. I was interested when I saw her name, and the synopsis caught my eye. Next, I have Lockwood & Co. The Hollow Boy by Jonathan Stroud. I've heard of this Lockwood & Co. series before, and I've actually read Jonathan Stroud before. He wrote the Bartimaeus trilogy, which is a YA fantasy about Jinn, and I absolutely love that trilogy. I read it pre-Booktuber online book presence, so I haven't really talked about it much on my channel, but you guys should definitely check it out if you like YA fantasy. It's definitely on the younger side of YA. I'd say like older middle grade, younger YA. But I really like that series, and I have heard about his other series. I mean, he probably has more than just this. Unfortunately, this is the second book in this series, but once I read the first one, I will have the second one to read. That brings me to my last 3 books. They're all by the same author, and this is a middle grade fantasy that I have been meaning to read for over a year now. Unfortunately, I don't have the first book in this set, but I actually don't know what order these go in. Let me see, they should be numbered. All right, I've got 2, 3, and 5. These books are the Fable Haven books by Brandon Mull, and I was so excited to see these at the library book sale. I have heard so much about the series, mainly from Connor O'Brien, who is a fantastic fantasy booktuber, if you guys haven't heard of him. And the way that he talks about the world building makes it sound fascinating, and I love me some good world building. 2 is called Rise of the Evening Star. This looks so cool. 3 is Grip of the Shadow Plague. And then 5 is Keys to the Demon Prison. And this one's a library copy. I wonder how many books are in this series. Anyways, so those are all of the 25 books that I picked up at this book sale. I think a lot of them are more idealistic reads. I mean, I think I'm going to read them. I just don't know how soon I'm going to read them. So yeah, that was my book haul. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys have read any of these books, let me know which ones were your favorites or which ones you didn't like down in the comment section to help me know what I should actually read. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you like bookish content. I post 1 to 2 times a week. That is all I have for now. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bookworms, keep reading. Bye. Look at, because it's a naked paper, Nielville? Ugh, I should have looked that up. Mostly from Connor from Bookin' It. Is that his channel name? Mainly from Connor from Connor O'Brien. From Connor O'Brien's. 3 is Grip of, and 3 is, bye.